Hello, hello? Hello, hello? Check. Check, check, check. Y'all hear? I don't hear nothing. Check, check, check. Hello, hello? Oh, it's a little delay.
Delayed?
It's delayed.
You check it. 5 seconds.
All right, we good. Are you on there, Miss Kenny?
Mm-hmm.
Check, check, check.
I got you too.
Check, check, check. Oh, it's good. All right.
How can I share this with
So you just hit share, and you can say something, and then share now. So
Okay.
I would probably say conversation with candidates or share.
All right. What is it? 6:30? All right, Miss Kenny. HIJK.
29. Oh, you ready? Okay, wait, let me close your. Oh, okay. And it is 6:30.
Hey, Commissioner, I see we're gonna do an intro, and then I'll bring you on, sort of like a Zoom. You will be side by side on the screen, okay? All right, you're hearing, okay. 1, 2, 1, 2. I see you. You're already in the waiting room. I'll bring you on in just a minute. We're gonna do an intro right now. All right, see you in a second. Lightweight stuff, people. Nothing serious. No worries. You ready? All right, Miss Kenya.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome back to the conversation with the candidates. It continues, you guys. Welcome to each and every one of you out there in virtual land. We are excited to be here again, hosting the conversation with the candidates. We're excited that we have Commissioner Welch virtual, and we also have candidate Nelson in the building and candidate Pete, I always say his last name wrong. Boland in the house, you guys. So we're super excited. My name is Kenya Allen. I am the owner of the Allenway studio. Just wanted to have some conversations, you guys, about what the candidates are going to do for this city. I needed the conversation because most of them I don't know personally, and my vote's important. It counts. And so I needed to have conversations with these candidates to find out who gets my vote. And so we are here and we're getting ready to get started. And our first candidate is going to be Commissioner Welch. We're going to bring him live. And so you guys, we're here. I'm excited about all of you guys out there, all of you that are on your way. Get here. It's going to be exciting. It's your girl, Kenya. And I yield the mic.
Yes. All right. We're going to move into virtual land. How is everyone doing out there today? I'm going to bring Mr. Welch right on. Good evening, you guys. You guys know me. It is your main man, Matt B. You've heard enough from me. I'm on here all the time talking about how I feel. We want to hear from the candidates. So let me bring on Commissioner Welch here just a second. There he is. Let me get his mic going. You got to unmute, Commissioner.
There we go, Matt. Can you hear me now?
Check, check.
Can you hear me now?
I don't hear anything. Hold on here. 1, 2. Can you say it again?
Mic check, 1, 2.
One, loud and clear, loud and clear. All right, we in the building.
All right.
You know, we got to work with this virtual stuff. How you doing, Commissioner Welch?
I'm doing well. You got me on some new technology tonight, so I'm adjusting the StreamYard. I like it though. That's a nice setup.
I'm fighting back too. So let me get these words off the screen. We are live, and let's get to it. Well, Commissioner, look, at this point in the race, it's all been said. We've heard it all. So we just kind of want to take the time out to get to know something about you maybe folks don't know. So I'll give you a few minutes right away to kind of talk to the folks about some of the things that you've done and who you are. Who is Mr. Ken Welch? We see your signs around the city, but who is Mr. Ken?
Wow, that's a wide open question. I appreciate that, brother Matt. So I'm third generation St. Pete, a Lakewood Spartan for life, member of the 1980 championship team that won Pinellas County for the first time, and that tradition has been followed for several years. I see the new artificial turf field going in; it looks fabulous. Went to USF St. Pete. Back then, we had an issue where you couldn't take your whole 4 years at USF St. Pete. And that's why there's so much concern about this consolidation that's going backwards. But I had to do my first 2 years over in Tampa, and I came back home and did my last 2 years at USF St. Pete, graduated in '85. And then I went to FAMU, which was my dad's school and my daughter's school. And I received my master's in business administration in 1987, and then came back home. I always knew I was going to come back home and work for Florida Power, which is now where Ceridian is, but it was in that built office building on 34th Street South. Now, along that way, I've worked in several family businesses. We have a heritage. My grandfather's wood yard was right at Fifth Avenue and 16th Street. It was dislocated for the interstate. Our church prayer tower was just a couple of blocks north of that. It was dislocated for the pursuit of baseball, along with many other churches and businesses and some 800 people. And so like many people, I've lived that issue of the gas plant and the pursuit of baseball. And so that's really important to me. When you say something that folks might not know, I came back, the first office I ran for was school board. It wasn't county commission. And it was school board because my father and all of his siblings were teachers. And I knew and still believe that's the best investment we can make, is connecting our young people with opportunities and ways to make an income and improve their status in life. I still believe that. And so that still will be a part of my administration as mayor, connecting with young people. And Matt, you and I have talked a lot about what's happening on our streets, how you reach young people in ways that the status quo isn't reaching a whole section of our kids. So that's vital to me. But along the way, I've served on the county commission for 5 terms. We've done a lot of good work in housing, creating the South St. Pete community redevelopment area, the first ever that wasn't in a downtown, and is funded by both the county and the city for 25 more years. That's a first. But also creating things like the Housing Trust Fund, working on justice reform, things like our APAD program, adult pre-arrest diversion, which has allowed more than 4,000 people not to be arrested for things like small amounts of marijuana and minor violations that, as we know, folks get that arrest and then they can't get a job later on. So we've worked on a number of issues like that. We lead the state in diversion for youth. But then there are other issues, just, following facts and science, helping to deal with this pandemic last year when I was on the commission. I'm really concerned. Palm Beach County reported more than 400 students already on isolation this early in the school year. I'm afraid we're not following the facts and the science again. And in Pinellas, we've been pretty good in doing that. And, that's what I want to bring to the city. Matt, the way we got something like the first CRA ever that wasn't in a downtown is we made everybody understand why we all have a stake in that. So even if you're down in the Vinoy or you're up in Gateway, if you've got a whole group of folks who have bad outcomes on education, on interaction with the justice system, even on healthcare, we're all paying a price for that. And so we monetize that. We said, here's a price we're paying for the increase in poverty in our county. And that's why we got a commission unanimously to support doing that. And so that's the approach I like to take. Talk about the facts and talk straight to people about what's happening.
I love it. I wanted to get a little deeper on the CRA, because I've mentioned that to people and people don't know how that affects their actual life. So if you can just kind of make it plain for the folks that are impacted by this and may not even know.
The CRA can be our best tool against gentrification. It has to be used in the manner it was created and for the reason it was created. It was created to help folks break generational poverty to help folks with job training, with education, with housing. For me, we need a whole financial literacy piece of that, right? Because a lot of folks, we have this Enterprise Village up in North County off Stavros, where young kids go and they have a job for a day in banking, and they learn how to handle finances. We need that same thing down the South Side for children and adults to learn, not only how to handle finances, but also things like the real estate market. We have folks now who get an offer almost every week, some even on a text saying, do you want to sell your house? They see a big number, much more than they bought the house for, without realizing you cannot go anywhere in St. Pete and buy a home of similar square footage for that same amount of money. And so just that kind of financial literacy we need. And we also need to be intense about putting affordable housing on the ground. Some people don't want to say affordable. That's what it is. It's affordable to people who make average incomes in our city and less. So for folks that make $19 and less, that's about what they call 80% area median income and less, $19 an hour, $16, $15, even down to $7 an hour. We can use those CRA funds to supplement that housing, so folks have places to stay. And that's what I want to focus on, and that'll be a priority for me. So education, jobs, housing, even retraining for returning citizens, all of those things can be funded out of that CRA. And we've got 25 more years of that CRA being in place. And last year it brought in some $6 to $8 million.
Got you. One more question, then we'll get off the CRA. It's just a huge thing for folks.
It is.
How do ordinary citizens tap in or push for certain things on that CRA? How do they do that? How do they get involved?
We are going to have a principle of being in touch with the community, having listening sessions, hearing what the ideas are. And we were involved in a lot of that just this past summer with the 6 community meetings that the NAACP had along with the St. Pete Police Department. And I had 2 youth meetings myself, one at Enoch Davis and one at an undisclosed location, because we wanted the kids to come and feel comfortable telling us, what we needed to hear. But that's what you got to have. Now, the county also, I'll tell you, Commissioner Renee Flowers is on top of this. They had a workshop this week. They are revising some of their rules to make sure, because the county has to delegate this money. It's under a state law. The county delegates it under Chapter 163, I believe, and then the cities implement it. And so the county has, some 30, I think, CRAs around the county. So they don't micromanage each one of them. They kind of delegate that to the city, and it's on the city to implement it. This is supposed to address poverty. The programs are supposed to be in line with that. We've seen some instances where those funded programs did not necessarily deal with poverty. And so from the city's aspect, I'm going to make that a priority. We have an advisor review board. They really need to be empowered and plugged into the process. But also, I'm telling you, the county, and I agree with it, the county is going to have a closer look over how we're spending that money in the CRA. It's got to be for poverty reduction and wealth building as it was intended.
Got it. You've been out, you've been talking to voters now. We're getting down to it. And I want to say this, I have to say this, right? You guys are behaving. This is a pretty clean campaign.
Some of us are behaving, Matt. Come on now.
Yeah, but it's nothing compared to 4 years ago. So I just wanted to give you guys kudos on that. Look, 4 years ago.
I gotta just disagree with you on that one, brother, because I have intentionally not swung back.
Right.
But what has been mailed to people, because I get the question, folks see me on the street, hey Ken, man, I like you. I didn't know you were a Trump supporter. I'm like, I'm not. I was a Biden delegate. So let's break down what being a Biden delegate means. There were 29 people in the state of Florida that the Biden team selected to represent them if he won the state. Those 29 people would go to Tallahassee and cast a vote for Biden and Harris. I was one of those 29. So I'm as far away as a Trump supporter or a Trump guy that you can be. Now, do I work with people who probably voted for Trump? Probably so. But if they're helping us to do something like an APAD program to reduce arrests, if they're helping us with housing, I'm going to work with those folks. So those, not 1, not 2, but 3 mailers that went to folks and kind of Photoshopped me in next to Trump, I can't say that's clean, Matt. That's the worst kind of politics. But we did not punch back on that. We continue to talk about our positive message. So look, you can't chase a lie down. All you can do is tell the truth about what you're going to do, and that's what we're doing.
Maybe I used some bad words, but around this point, in 4 years ago, it got so bad, I was called a Negro in tow. It's not that bad yet.
I hear you.
I wanted to say, you've been out talking to voters, and you kind of, what are you hearing? What are you hearing from the people that they need from their next mayor?
Well, see, Matt, the thing is, I'm not new to being out talking to folks. I've done that before I was even a commissioner, talking to people about what they're hearing. And the problem with some elected officials is they don't listen. They're just out there, but then they're not really actively listening to what people are saying. What people are saying, and they have been saying for a while, is there's a whole lot of change. It's coming really quickly, and they don't see a lot of development that is for normal working folks. Go down 34th Street. It's a perfect example. I use this all the time. Starting like at Ceridian, where Florida Power was, and just go south. So on the west side, where the old Kmart was, you'll see hundreds of units, all luxury. Go down a little bit further down McDonald's, where the resort was, hundreds of units, several stories, all luxury. The only really affordable that you see is on the other side where the Dunkin' Donuts is, about 39th. And that's 65 units of truly affordable. And then by the interstate at 26th Avenue South, there's another, I think, 51 units truly affordable. That ratio is off. You've got maybe 150 affordable to 1,000, maybe luxury units. We've got to be more intent about not leaving the regular folks that make the average salary behind. A lot of the new development is for folks who aren't here. We're bringing new money in, which is good, but at the same time, you've got to be intentional. So you're hearing folks saying this new progress is leaving folks behind. The other thing we hear, and you heard it because you were out on a lot of the conversations in the community, folks don't feel safe. Folks are asking on some instances, it's interesting, they're saying, why does it take so long for the police to respond to something? There was one in Childs Park where a gentleman was saying, look, we knew this drug house was here for a year and we've been complaining. Why does it take so long? And so at the same time where you want more police accountability, you also hear folks saying, look, we want our neighborhoods to be safe. And if we see something that is illegal or dangerous, we want you to deal with it. And so I'm hearing that whole neighborhood safety issue, and it's all across the city. You hear it from Coquina Key to out west, you hear about that. And so folks want to feel safe. They want to feel like they're part of the progress and not being left behind. And also they want us to make sure we're doing the right thing with our infrastructure so we don't continue to have those sewer overflows and flooding whenever it storms.
Oh yeah, man, you brought back memories when you said sewer. With the affordable housing, right? For the last 4 years, every campaign, every candidate wants to address this. What is going to be different about your tenure as mayor, and how are you going to attack it in a realistic manner?
You've got to make it a priority. And I've heard so many times, and I just kind of laugh because I believe, I'm a person of faith, number one. But I just believe if you can have a debate on the issue, a lot of times you can get folks to the same place. So when I mentioned the fact that we don't have a CRA to address poverty back in the day, I had commissioners, old commissioners, not the current commissioners, laugh and say, we're never going to do that. That's not going to happen. And guess what? We've got not only South St. Pete CRA, the largest, we follow that up with Lellman, which is a poverty-based CRA. And now the Greenwood Clearwater CRA is being developed. And we've got two more, Tarpon Springs and High Point, and those are going to be developed. I heard the same thing when we talked about expanding our small business enterprise program. Had a commissioner say, it's not our responsibility to nurture and support small and minority businesses. Well, guess what? When I was the commission chair in 2018, and I got to lead the effort to hire the new county administrator, Barry Burton, he knew coming in that was a priority for the commission and for the chairman. And so he came in, he made that a priority throughout the organization. He elevated Dr. Cynthia Johnson, gave her a dotted line connection to him as a supply diversity officer for the county, gave her resources and staff. and the software system to track utilization. And she grew that, and she already knew how to do it. She just needed to be given the tools and the authority within the organization. She grew that from $70,000 going to those businesses a year to $20 million going to those businesses in a year, but because it was intentional and a priority. That's the same focus I'm going to take as a mayor when it comes to housing. Our staff is going to know, I want a plan, and I call these things opportunity agendas, Matt. We talked about this before. So an opportunity agenda for youth, an opportunity agenda for housing, an opportunity agenda for South St. Pete. Show me the things we can do near term and long term to get to the target. And we already know we've got the funds from the county. When I was on the commission, we put $82.5 million in the penny for Pinellas to be able to subsidize affordable housing. And so that money's being drawn down on right now. And the two projects I talked about, the one by Dunkin' Donuts and the one at 26th Avenue at the interstate, are pulling those funds down to help fund it. So I want to be aggressive about going after those funds. I also want to be aggressive about using CRA dollars. I also want to be aggressive about improving our processes in the city. Planning and permitting that take too long. I'm hearing that from developers across the board. So one thing I've done in the private sector, I worked for Florida Power, for Raymond James, and for St. Pete College for 20 years. One of the things I did was business process improvement and technology. And so I know we can squeeze out, make it more efficient by listening to the employees and to the customers to improve our processes and our policies, and also draw down that money aggressively. I'm sure we can get more housing on the ground quicker.
What is your thoughts on the raise and the drop site? And I know you've answered this question 1,000 times.
That's okay. It's a 35-year legacy. I'll answer that question as many times as I need to, Matt, because it's important. Folks' lives were disrupted in the pursuit of baseball. My family happened to be one of them. Our church happened to be one of them. My grandfather's woodyard was dislocated for the interstate, and the interstate literally came right in where he was at 5th Avenue and 16th Street. So I know the sacrifice, and this isn't just St. Pete. Around the nation, Black communities have been disrupted, particularly by the interstate system and by redlining, right? So this isn't new to us, but now we've got an opportunity 35 years later to fulfill those promises that were economic development and jobs. And then we can live all the things we talk about, our values of equity, equitable development. The community benefits agreement was a big part of that. That was an opportunity to be intentional about equity going forward. I'm glad that that's in place. When it stalled, I wrote a letter to the mayor and the council twice, urging them to go on and make it citywide, because we know the impact of discrimination was citywide. So this agreement should be citywide, and it's really minimal. Alan Delisle said it only would have affected 7 or 8 projects. So I want to look at it as it goes along and see what the real impact is, and if we have to tweak the criteria of that CBA. But all those things to me come together. The raise are important. I think we can get a deal done with them. But in my conversations with them and the teams that are working on the TROP proposals, my number one issue is fulfilling that promise of jobs, economic development, and equitable development countywide or citywide. Whether it's in contracting and hiring, all those things that are in the CBA, that needs to be part of our DNA going forward. And all of those folks agree with that. They understand the history, and I think it's a matter if the mayor is saying, look, this is a priority, I think the private sector will respond to that.
When you say priorities, what is your first, let's say, 100 days? What are you attacking first?
Well, as I said, housing is vitally important. I want to get the Tropicana Field issue moving again. I am meeting with council members now. I met with Ed Montanari earlier this week. Look, I believe you got to talk with everybody on the council. You got to respect them. That's the way I worked as a commissioner. Now, we couldn't talk because of Sunshine Law, but we talked in workshops. My advantage now is that I can talk to council members because that's not a violation of Sunshine Law. So to me, this is actually going to be easier. And some of the biggest things we worked on has been, interestingly enough, in coordination with council members, so that the APAD issue we talked about, adult pre-arrest diversion, where you don't get arrested for a minor crime. Well, Steve Cornell brought that to the city. It was going to be a civil citation, a different model. And the sheriff wanted to do something that was broader, that would be countywide, so that any agency could enforce it. And so I worked with Steve Cornell and the sheriff on supporting APAD, and Chief Holloway as well. On the CRA, worked very closely with Carl Nurse as a city representative. So on all these issues, I'm already used to working with city council members, and I'm looking forward to working with, Deborah Fix Sanders and Lisa Wooler Bowman, and any of the new council members that are coming in. Because to me, it's not a zero-sum game. It's not about who gets the PR, who gets the press conference. Because look, in 20 years, nobody's going to care about who that was. They're going to care about the impact on the community. And so that's my approach going forward.
Got it. And, you mentioned that your grandfather's wood yard. You still, I think your mother is my neighbor, actually. And so you still have a huge tie to South St. Pete, right? What keeps you up at night about the city?
We've got a whole group of young people who we're not reaching. I've served on JWB, I've served, on Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, all those things. Great programs, but they're not reached. There are certain kids who aren't involved in those programs. There's certain kids who are just surviving, day by day. One of the things that we heard at our June 1st Youth Summit, where we had a panel of young entrepreneurs, LJ Murphy, Kimbrell Finch, Trey Gilliam, the producer for Rob Wave and my nephew, and Chris Roberts, who owns Urban Inc. So I wanted to show the kids, here are all young entrepreneurs, less than 35, from South St. Pete, who have made it, and just wanted to make that connection. But we had a young man, I think his name was Jackson, during the Q&A, who stood up and asked if anybody had to deal with mental health. And one of our panelists said, yeah, he had never revealed it. It was LJ Murphy. But he said, yeah, he dealt with it. And just, you could see the room, it lifted in the room. I think you were there, Matt.
Oh, yeah.
And kids started talking about it, and then Kimbrell started talking about it. So many of our kids are dealing with this trauma, right? From poverty, from violence, from all those things. And it doesn't get talked about when we talk about how great the Sunshine City is. Because it is great for a lot of folks, but in a lot of our neighborhoods, a lot of these kids are struggling day to day, and we have to find ways to reach them where they are. And, they're not coming to a council meeting. They're not even coming to my summit at Enoch Davis, right? So we've got to get lower. And I think you said this before, we've got to get to the root cause of the problem. And I told you I was going to steal that line, and I have stolen it. I use it all the time. We've got to get to the root cause of the problem, Matt. And that means finding new messengers. The program that you're working with, Hidden Voices, is that the name of it?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, that is exactly the kind of program, because you're not going to reach these kids with the same old status quo programs, right? But if you can reach one or two, I don't know, and get them, say, look, yeah, I can connect to that. I can do that. And there's a program over in Tampa. I met the young lady that runs it, called STEM Exposure. And she works with young kids and brings STEM training to the urban part of Tampa, working with Mayor Casper. These kids are designing tiny homes for homeless veterans, right? And so they're getting all this STEM knowledge while they're doing something they like. I want to bring that to South St. Pete. I want to bring that to Enoch or to Childs Park. I want to make those centers what I'm calling innovation and empowerment centers, where kids actually want to go, where they've got the tools. Digital access is a part of that. I love what President Biden is talking about in this infrastructure bill, about having broadband everywhere. So again, that would be something that the city wouldn't have to pay for if it comes through. But we just got to connect kids, especially this group of young kids who are not connecting now. We've got to reach them. That's the best investment we can make.
Absolutely. And I just want to say shout out to PERC and the Tiny Homes program. We're doing something similar. We just don't have a STEM home. I'm a little jealous. That's okay. I did, speaking of funding, right, and things that the city doesn't have to pay for. The city got a really nice shot in the arm, or is getting a nice shot in the arm from the ARP funding. Mm-hmm. Have you thought about, and have you kind of up to speed on how that money is being spent, and how would you like to see it being spent?
I think about it all the time. I attended one of the meetings, the community meetings on it. $45 million is not going to solve a lot of problems. It sounds like a lot of money, but it's not. What I'm thinking about is under Mayor Kreisman's housing plan, he has this plan to address affordable housing. A part of that, he had $20 million allocated to come from linkage fees. Well, the legislature has really taken the teeth out of that, so you really can't implement that. I would use that 20 million for replacing that part of his housing plan, again, because housing is a priority, and then use the other 20 or 25 million for other purposes. Again, I've heard folks talk about using it for infrastructure, for the water system. To me, that's a separate bucket, and even Claude Tankersley, the public works director, kind of argues against using those American Rescue Plan dollars for that. The better match for that is the new infrastructure bill, the $1 trillion bill, and it does specifically has for infrastructure, bridges, roads, water systems. I really want to target that to help bring down the water rates that are planned. But for that American Rescue Plan, at least that 20 million I want to use to replace that linkage fee portion that'll be lost in Mayor Kreisman's housing plan.
Got you. Well, Mayor, we're running on down to the end of it. I want to give you a moment to just close us out, let the people,
Well,
give us your words.
Matt, thank you, man. Thanks for all the work you're doing. Thanks to Kenya. I can't forget her name because my daughter has the same name as Kenya. Thank you for putting this on. And, I'm sorry we had a conflict last time. We had dueling debates that night, but it's really good that y'all, allow folks to hear from the candidates. We got great candidates. I heard you say Pete was there. Hey, Brother Boland. I didn't hear who the other candidate was there tonight.
Mr. Torry.
Torry, how you doing, Torry? Good to see you. We got good people that want to move our city forward, and the only reason I'm running is for progress. I'm running for my mom. I won't say her age, but my mom my mom used to go to the Y like 5:30 in the morning. That's how intense she is. And for my daughters, in their generation, the decisions we make right now are going to determine what kind of city we have, what progress looks like. Are we going to become this elite place where folks can't afford to live, where folks have to drive in and go to work and then drive back to Manatee or Hillsborough for an affordable place to stay? Are we going to be a place where we connect kids with opportunity? All those things are the reason I'm running. And my combination of experience with family businesses for 40 years, in corporate America for 20 years, and 20 years as a commissioner and a leader of the Florida Association of Counties, I think I'm best prepared to lead this city. And it will be an in-touch version of leadership where everyone has a seat at the table. And I want to hear all the best ideas, and let's move forward with a common purpose to make our city better. And go to KenWelch.com if you want more info.
There you go. Well, I appreciate your time, Commissioner. And,
thank you.
As always, we'll see you out there on the trail. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Y'all stay safe now. All righty. Thank you. All
right, folks. Listen, give us just about 5 minutes. We're going to get set up for who we got next. Mr. Boland, Pete Boland. Folks, you guys stay tuned for Mr. Pete Boland. Come on up, Mr. Pete Boland. You're the next contestant.
At the Allenway studio.
That's right. He hasn't won yet. He said you called him mayor. Yeah.
I knew somebody was gonna call me. It came out, man. I knew somebody was gonna call me.
Got to even that one out.
I knew somebody was gonna give me that.
Hey, sis.
All right, check.
Make that go.
Pete, get it right, Pete. He said he ain't married yet.
We gotta make that be known. He been running for a long time. He ain't married yet. I like this.
Don't no dirt guy. We'll have to have him back on so he can rebut.
I would love a little water. No ice, just a little bit of water. Check. Hello. Hello. How about that? You hear me? You hear me now?
Okay.
Hello.
Okay. No, it was just working.
There we go. Hello.
All right.
Got me now.
All right. All right, folks, we are back. And we have Mr. Pete Boland in the house, man. Thank you for joining us, Pete.
Truly my pleasure of making it through the rain out here tonight. I got soaked.
Yes, thank you for making your way out here in the rain, folks. You heard it, Mr. Pete Boland. Rain, sleet, or snow, he's coming through, folks.
I'm here for St. Pete. You know I love this place.
Yes, man. So, Mr. Pete Boland, man, this is my first time getting a chance to meet you. And I'm sure that there's other people that feel the same way. Tell the people a little bit about who Pete Boland is, man, and where you come from and what prompted you to run.
So, it's funny you say that because I've had a lot of folks tell me like, oh, Pete, you know everybody. And then, you start running from there, you realize how big a city like St. Pete is. People think of St. Pete as this great little small town, but it's a real city. And I've met so many people just in the 3 months that since we decided to do this. I kind of made my decision in May. And, I'm a guy who's self-made entrepreneur, born and raised in St. Pete, and just I've always loved this place. I got plucked away for a little bit. I got in trouble when I was a teenager, and Mama said I had to go live up with her. When my family, my dad got sick and my grandmother got sick, so I got plucked away. And I always just wanted to be back. And I actually moved back here when I was 17 years old, living on my own. I crashed with a friend and kind of couch surfed. I was the only member of my family that lived in St. Pete for a time, which was really strange because so many of us were here. I just always fell in love with the city and just being here and our way of life. And we were kind of on the upswing then, especially 20 years ago. And we just had gotten Major League Baseball and downtown was really starting to make some headway. And I just kind of was clawing my way through the world and fell into hospitality. I started bartending when I was 19. Mm-hmm. I started managing restaurants when I was 21. And, I think about it now, like, oh yeah, of course I was managing when I was 21. Now, as a restaurant owner, I wouldn't hire a 21-year-old to manage a restaurant. So I just, it's one of the things I look back on and laugh. But I was just kind of an irresistible force and always had a strong opinion about stuff. And I just really wanted to work hard. And I continued to get in a little bit of trouble into my 20s and kind of got stuck in hospitality, as I say, stuck. But hospitality was my salvation, and I just worked really hard. I knew at that time when I was 22 that I had to really hunker down with what I was doing, pay attention to my work, and just make that my focus to kind of build up trust. My love, Jessica, always says, trust is consistency through time, right? That's how you build trust. So for me, I became an operator and really became kind of a go-to person for turning places around. So I was in the hospitality business for a real long time and still am. Like I was telling you, I got soaked because we were catering an event today and I was helping with the setup today. But started just kind of really paying attention to things, and one of the great things happened to me was being at Corrigan's Irish Pub over on Beach Drive, mm-hmm. which really felt like it was kind of the heart of a lot of the history of St. Pete. It was on the site where the old Chatterbox restaurant was, where Joe DiMaggio and Henry Aaron and all the great legends of baseball, they would come from Allenway Field and go hang out at Chatterbox, which was the first nightclub in Pinellas County. Wow. And so it just had a lot of history there, the Bayfront Tower and Allenway Field and Demon's Landing, where I used to go as a kid. And just being there, I got to meet so many public officials over the times. I got to meet all sorts of folks from all walks of life. And Charlie Chris lived in the building at the time, so I used to get to see the governor every once in a while. And it just, it kind of became my little soapbox hanging out at Corrigan's. It was my chance to talk to some of the public officials. And one thing you learn about public officials is they are human beings too. They make lots of mistakes. Right. They like to have a good time too. They hang out and have some drinks too. They're not saints. And they're just regular people. And so I just kind of used my little access. We got involved with the peer campaign. That was my first foray into local politics, the Build the Peer campaign when the Lent was up for referendum in 2013. Yep. So we were part of that. So as a co-chair of that campaign, I kind of got involved in a lot of discussions from that point on. So everything to do with the peer, I got to see at the table at. And then we moved on to things like Chop Camp Field and then as a general manager at that time downtown, we were talking about things like 3 a.m. We moved to 3 a.m. in 2010. And then there was always talk about noise ordinance. And all these people moving downtown wanted to complain about the noise. They wanted to enjoy all the restaurants, but they didn't enjoy everybody having fun in them. So we kind of got involved with a lot of these issues. And then we were able to open up my first restaurant, The Galley, in 2016. We took over a corner that they said was cursed. They said, John the Buddy had that place. He couldn't make it work. What makes you think it would work? I was like, well, we're just going to make a destination. We're going to make a great place. And for us, The Galley was about that love letter to St. Pete that we call it the Galley at St. Pete Tavern. It was all about food, music culture of St. Pete. Like I always like to say the galley is like Beach Drive style quality and Central Avenue style fun.
Okay.
So I think of it as a St. Pete person, like I said, you know exactly what that means. Like we're going to deliver the goods and we're going to have a good time doing it. And with Hurricane Irma, that was kind of a turning point for us where we got to feed the community.
Yeah.
We were kind of a refuge for people that didn't have electricity, and we just always were kind of involved with things. And it's right next door to the MSC building, so same thing. I saw a lot of those public officials all the time. And then the world kind of changed for us last year with COVID-19. And I remember when that, there was so much fear in the beginning of March, and the mayor's office called me and they just said, Pete, can you help people get along with what we're doing? We just don't know what's happening. Can you help people get along? And I was all in, and I said, okay. And I talked to Kevin, I talked to Mayor Kreisman, and I said, okay, I can, we don't know what's happening. I'm going to try to get people to kind of comply and not fight with this thing. And we did everything we could. And then as the weeks went by, the information changed, but the policies didn't change. And next thing you know, I'm the kind of the voice for my entire industry here. And I felt like not just St. Pete, and certainly not downtown St. Pete alone, but the entire industry. And then we became the first restaurant that I know of in the world that had a voluntary shutdown with a staff outbreak with COVID. We had this amazing month of May where the restaurants reopened, the governor reopened the state on May 4th of last year. And, I just opened my Irish pub. I also had an Irish pub downtown, Mary Margaret's, which is where my grandmother's beauty salon was in the 70s. So that's why we named it after her. So that's relative to the story because the first day of COVID restriction was St. Patrick's Day last year. Yeah. So we lost out on our St. Patrick's Day. Yeah. We just kind of rallied together, the community rallied together. We fed, thousands of meals to musicians and out-of-work hospitality folks. And like I said, the science kind of evolved. We learned more about COVID, and the state opened up, and then all of our people started getting sick beginning of June. And we were the first restaurant that I know of in the world that did a voluntary shutdown because of COVID-19. And then all of a sudden, that put me in the spotlight. I was on CNN, I was on CNBC, I was on every local news affiliate. I was in the New York Post, New York Times, Washington Post, and they knew that I was pretty good quotes. They kept coming back to me, and I just kind of became the voice for our industry and about some of the mask theater, this thing where people were making a choice to come out to eat, and they have to wear this mask for the first 10 seconds. They walk in the door, they take it off, right? It didn't make a lot of sense to us. And then, I had this good relationship with the mayor's office, and I'll have a good relationship with anybody as a working relationship. And that's one of the things that I want to help fix and bring to the city. But that's huge. I don't care who's on county commission. I don't care who's on city council. I don't care who's in the governor's mansion. I don't care who's representing us in Washington, D.C. We got to work. We got to put St. Pete first. But all that stuff happened last year, Matt, and people really liked what I had to say. And I started paying attention. I was really paying attention to the race, and I didn't really feel good about any of the candidates. And I know you just had Commissioner Welch on there. I think he's a good man. I think he cares about St. Pete, but it just didn't sit well for me.
He didn't say nothing about you. I'm going
but we talk about why I decided to run for mayor.
Got you.
All right, was I looked at the field and it rubbed me the wrong way. Some of these folks were running for mayor for years. That everything they did was calculated about running for mayor, and it seemed like that there was no authenticity, there was no heart for the city. They didn't have the same kind of private sector experience, and then they didn't suffer the way we did. They didn't even talk to us last year. They did a reopen St. Pete commission last year, and who were the places that were close? It was the beauty salons, it was the restaurants, it was the gyms. They had no representation for the beauty salons, the bars, the restaurants, and the gyms, and that thing. It just felt a little crazy to me, and I continued to kind of just chirp away, and we ended up getting cited for the mass citation stuff. We led a defense against that, and we actually defeated the Kreisman administration in court with that stuff too. And so I just was watching the field, man. I didn't feel good about the field. I didn't have anybody that I thought was supporting the business side of things. I didn't feel anybody had my kind of experience in life of being a self-made entrepreneur and having to work really hard for everything I got, and just being kind of a hard-working man for the people. And I didn't think there was anybody that had a passion for sports the way I do, and was really concerned about losing the Rays. And I felt like a lot of the folks that are up there they didn't have the same kind of experience when it came to affordable housing and criminal justice reform. And you think about 2020, the three things were public safety, right, from health, COVID-19. You think of the affordable housing, as a lot of people were housing insecure last year because they couldn't pay their rent. We're still dealing with that with moratorium now. Sports landscape changed, and I just didn't feel like we had anybody there. So I just kept paying attention to it. And I decided that I wasn't going to do it. And then I just kept kind of hanging around. My life just all changed. My girl was very supportive. My business was supportive. Everything kind of evened out as far as my workload at the Galley and Mary Margaret's. And we decided to go for it. And I believe I'm doing it for all the right reasons. I don't want to be a career politician. You know, I might do everything I can to ever serve this community, but I love this place so much, and I just wanted to make a difference. And I felt like now is the time to act with all these big issues of criminal justice reform, affordable housing, attainable housing, I like to call it, saving pro sports. The Rays own the Rowdies too, and they plucked them out of here just like they could our baseball team that we sacrificed so much for. And I just really wanted to move St. Pete forward and kind of have a perspective for the little guy and for the business community, and that's what led me to sit here with you.
Man, wow, man, that's an amazing story. I didn't know all that, so thank you for sharing. And that's kind of the point of this, I wanted to go back a little bit. At the very beginning, you said we decided. Who's your team? What's your team? Because I'm gonna say why I asked this, folks. This brother's on Bay News 9, so you gotta have a team. You gotta have some money to get on Bay News 9. So tell us a little bit about the team you got and who's behind it. Who's supporting people?
So it obviously starts at home. My love, Jessica, we're coming up on a 1-year anniversary here at the end of this month.
Happy anniversary.
She's the one that keeps me in line. She's a tough Puerto Rican. I like to call her New York Rican because she's never been to Puerto Rico. She's from New York, but she's been here a long time. She's been saying over 20 years. She keeps me in line. Always, doesn't let me slide anything. So she's a big part of the team. And then I just have a lot of us younger entrepreneurs that grew up around here. I think about my friend Juan Murillo, who owns Mercury Heating and Air. I think about my dear friend Marcus Martin, who is an executive for Remax Metro downtown. That's the event we just catered to. My friend Jerome Puya. And I got some other folks that are kind of like on the team that can't publicly come out and say that they're on the team because of some of their jobs. But I got some folks that work for the county. And then I've got some folks that work for the chamber that are really close to us. And then definitely all those folks that help us on the Build a Peer campaign. And then my team of just my close friends and allies that I just have grown up with that I just love so dearly. And I'm a very proud, moderate guy. Like I got friends on both sides of the aisle. I just want them to be smart and open-minded and have a heart for St. Pete.
Got you. Got a question that I'm sure people in the audience are asking, right? It's obvious you have close roots to hospitality, right? But like, for instance, St. Petersburg, one of the things that keeps me up at night is, I don't even know where we are right now, but we were in 21 murders. We had 15 all of last year, which is a big deal. How are you going to represent that sector? How are you going to represent Black St. Pete? And what is your experience with that?
Well, I'm a kid of public school. I went to public school along, and we talk about some of those folks. I always hung out with the multiracial kind of group of friends. So like one of my friends down here is a Black business owner, Aaron Williams. I'm a big fan of him. And his family is in the beauty salon supply business. So we've actually talked about stuff like that. And he's one of the people that I really just revere. And I think he's one of the smartest folks around. But I think representing Black St. Pete is about recognizing some of the obstacles of opportunity. When I hear someone like Maria Scruggs talk about the frustration of the literacy rate here in South St. Pete in particular, that's something that strikes home.
Shout out to Maria Scruggs. She the one who called me a Negro in Torry.
But when I hear some of that, so we talk about something like the murder rate down here, I think that's a consequence of frustration and despair. It's some of that literacy rate, it's some of the things that are like, we can talk about the APAD program. That's not necessarily a successful program either, because it's got a lot of officer discretion, right? And that we know that there's things like, I don't think the St. Pete Police Department is systemically racist. I think that we have problems of systemic racism in the United States that's deeply rooted. I got criticized. I said hello to my neighbor across the street, and it got captured in one of our TV commercials. I got called racist for saying hello to the guy that owns Green Bench Flowers. I think there's a lot of pain that goes back from Jim Crow, St. Pete and Jim Crow South, right? So I think some of it is we got to recognize where we're at in the past, but also not pretend too that the government's not going to come save the day, that we have to have individual responsibility. And I think that there's a lot of folks who talk about equality. We need to talk about equality of opportunity. All right, and I think that starts with things like, not having failed in schools, turning around some of these failure factors. My friend Dirk Shad is one that won a Pulitzer Prize for dealing with that story here in St. Pete. We're talking about things like in the post-COVID world, and I know the Delta variant's out, I still think we're in the post-COVID world. The death rate is way down, that we kind of have a way to treat this thing. We have the vaccines available. But in the post-COVID world, we're going to be looking at in a more internet age. We got all these folks watching us live right now. That kids are learning from school. They're going home with iPads, right? At a lot of these school systems down there. So we need to make sure that we have things like broadband access to every part of St. Pete. That this is not a barrier. That not having internet access is not a barrier to information or education. Okay, so I think that needs to be a big part of it. And then we're just talking about actually solving real problems. And we can have community redevelopment money, but if it doesn't go to the people, and we don't have community benefits agreements that get along where we can actually help people prosper, I think that's a real problem. And then that public safety you're talking about, it's hard to worry about that higher education when you're worried about getting broken into, robbed, or shot, or you're worried about or afraid of the police. So we need to break down some of these walls and barriers. And I want to end the war on drugs. I think St. Pete should lead the way in that. We talk about progress and progressive city, and we're just not there yet. Now, we know Black and brown people are victimized by the war on drugs. And I was a victim of it too. And I was lucky to be able to get out. And I want to be a story of inspiration. I'm a turnaround story. And I think that St. Pete is a great land of opportunity, but it needs to be a land of opportunity for everybody so they can lift themselves up.
All right. I want to dig a little deeper on two things that you said. I want to talk about the systemic racism, and I want to back up a little bit and talk about the schools. You mentioned the schools. As a mayor, what are you going to be able to do for the schools, if anything?
So a lot of people would say, well, that's a county problem. I know that's not the mayor's job, that's a county problem. Well, I think when you look back at some of the success of Mayor Baker, of really connecting the private sector in with public schools, I think we need to revisit some of those things like that. Doorways program was something that worked, I feel like, and just kind of like, we see the thing, adopt a highway. I'd like to see companies like Raymond James adopt a school to make sure that they have everything that they need. And people need to understand we're in that outcome together. Like we talk about someone like me that's looking to hire folks. I want to hire folks that are confident they can do simple math. All right, like when they're doing a catering order like we did today, they need to figure out some of that basic math. That they have the financial literacy. Like to me, Raymond James is one of the great financial services institutions ever built in the history of the world. It calls St. Pete home, and this is the birthplace. We should have a very financially literate population. There's no reason why Raymond James can't help usher that in. If Duke Energy can sponsor a light show over the pier, they should be able to sponsor a school on the south side of St. Pete too. I think stuff like that. I think that's a big part of what I think that we could do. And then we need to be aggressive and make sure that we're teaching the right things in school. I'd like to see a great aggressive liaison with the school board and make sure that we're paying attention. I think we need to get people activated to be a part of the school board. When there's a lot of candidates that are folks out there that care about things like education, I want to see them running for school boards so we have dynamic conversations. So we just don't have this political machine in the school board. I talked about that. My lady was a great student. She's got a master's degree. She's a nurse practitioner. She's someone that is very passionate about education for her kids. Like, these are the type of people we need on our school board. So I'd like to kind of inspire a lot of connectivity to that too.
All right, and then my second deal was systemic racism, St. Pete Police Department. What does the St. Pete Police Department look like under your tenure? And how do you address America's systemic racism that has seeped definitely into every aspect of our lives? How do you address it with the police, especially where we have bills coming down now, where a protest can turn into a 5-year prison sentence? How's a police department under your tenure going to look?
Well, I feel like some of the things that's happened recently that I don't feel comfortable with, and I'm someone who was raised up to not see color. And I feel like now you're seeing a lot of the stuff from higher education. I actually heard a candidate who represents one of the poorest areas of the Bronx who was just saying there's some ideas that are so bad only professors and educators can be in favor of them. So I think that we over-intellectualize some of these things, and I think that we need to get everything shouldn't be about color anymore, but we have to be honest about things like the war on drugs that are unfair to Black and brown folks. We need to be honest about the school system that is really struggling and is not fair to Black and brown folks. We need to be honest that people are still going to see color, that there is something primal about, Black folks are gonna be more comfortable with other Black folks, white folks are gonna be more comfortable with other white folks, and that we have to break down some of those trust barriers right there. We have to continue to work together. I think that this is not a problem. A lot of people say, "Oh, Barack Obama got elected. That means America's not a racist country." I think that we have real deep-seated problems in this country, but it needs to start with opportunity. I believe in the meritocracy, like we talked about. So we need to kind of level the playing field, opportunity. I don't think that there should be one zip code on this side of town where it's just complete despair. It doesn't have those benefits, and that if you're over here, that you're just guaranteed the success. And I'm a fortunate person that I had two parents together, and I think when you just talk about something like that my privilege to me is not so much that I was white, it was that I had two loving parents that I grew up with. Okay, that I always talk about that, like you might not have a great dad, but at least you had a dad, right? Not everybody gets one of those, and to be healthy and to have some opportunity and give that chance for people who believed in me to come up again. So I think when we talk about systemic racism, it starts by we need to return to kind of the nuclear family aspect. I think we need to connect our neighborhoods together better so people can, it takes a village, that old saying, right? That it does take a village, and we're all connected with social media, but we're disjointed too. We're not together the same way. So if we have stronger neighborhoods, we have stronger family bonds, and we're not throwing people in jail recklessly for things like marijuana or even some of the other drugs that are out there. I just don't think it's successful. We need to make sure that we're fair and practical about our application of law, and then, like I said, it starts with public safety too. That there shouldn't be where if I call the cops, and I live in Shore that they're there in 5 minutes, but if you call the cops in Midtown, they take 45 minutes. It shouldn't be that way, and we've got to figure out a way to balance the playing field to bring opportunity for everybody in our city.
All right. What's your priority? What do you see? Like, you mentioned the downtown, obviously, outside of downtown. What is the next issue that's near and dear to your heart that you want to go to City Hall and fight for?
So I think downtown is it's good to go. The private sector's got downtown. It's one of the most walkable cities in the Southeast United States. It's the most walkable neighborhood of Florida. We're on fire downtown. Things are good. That's where everybody wants to be. It's this great gathering place. It's the heartbeat of the city. But as far as priorities for all of us, we've got to address the attainable housing crisis.
Yes.
Right? It's the biggest thing going on, and I overheard in the previous conversation we talked about where people have all this equity in their house, but they don't understand that. Some folks don't understand that, you can sell that house and get your $200,000 in equity, but that $200,000 is going to get you squadouche, right, around town. It's not going to get you anything. So we need to address this we need to build more homes. We need to give people access to those accessory dwelling units. That's what made my house affordable. When I was a kid, my grandmother lived in an in-law suite that's attached. And then in our neighborhood, there's a different rule that it has to be attached to the house. You can't have that detached garage, apartment, and those things. So, and then there's things like they changed the zoning in the city 5 years ago, and patted everybody on the back like they did a great thing, but they didn't do the work of finishing it with the county. The county didn't approve, so nothing's been done. Pinellas County's been built out for 30 years, 99% built out. There's no places to build but up. We've got to increase and upzone. So that'd be something I do on the first day, and that starts with things like the building department. Okay, the building department is antiquated and overwhelmed. They're processing between 1,500 and 2,000 building permits a month, and there's 8 people in that office. It's the number 2 revenue center in our city government behind property taxes. So we need to address this attainable housing crisis with this multi-pronged, multifaceted approach of increasing ADUs, making sure that we're getting
explain to
accessory dwelling units, that's those garage apartments, those in-law suites, those pool houses. So I'd love to see pool houses and some of those houses that have a swimming pool where their 18-year-old kid can go to college and afford to live there. All right, we need to have those in-law suites that are attached to the apartment, the garage apartments. So I look at it like this multi-generational thing. So it's like mom or dad has the big house, right? And you know, we have a lot of modern family, you know, that people don't have two parents so much anymore. So they're the breadwinner. Their kid lives in that garage apartment until they're 18, 19, 21 years old, gets themselves together. They go on their own, then they come back, they take over the big house, and as the parent gets elderly, they help take care of the kid, they move into the smaller house. Now we've got this revenue generating property where everything is affordable for everybody, and it helps with your sustainability. And then your values can go up in your home because people want to buy a thing that has this income, this revenue. So you might have a $2,000, $1,000, $1,200 house payment, but if you can rent out your apartment for $600-800, now we're talking about being affordable right there. So I think the ADUs needs to be part of it. We need to have that mixed use development where we kind of build our own marketplaces where we have the retail at the bottom, and then folks living upstairs, they can afford to live right there. So we need to have this density where we upzone all these places, especially along our major corridors. I want to see upzoning. We got to fix that building department, and then people are confused too, Matt. I think people they're really worried about the high-rise development, this luxury apartments that are happening, and they think that that's causing the spike, and that's not what's happening here. So there's such a demand for the luxury living too, the condos, everything else, and there's no place else to build but up. They've got to build up. So what's happening is that there's a high demand for that stuff. They can't find what they want, so they go down to that next tier of housing. Right, so the folks, the middle class folks that could afford those homes, they don't have anything there. Those rents and prices go up there, so they got to go down to the next tier. So they go down to the lower income housing. That lower income housing, then that price goes up, pushes other people out. So it just kind of keeps pushing people down and out. And then we play this game of musical chairs, and someone's left out. They don't get to sit there. So we need all of it too. So we need the ADUs, we need the affordable housing built, we need some of the workforce housing built, we need the upzoning, we need the high-rise luxury stuff. And then there needs to be community benefits agreements that is attached to these new developments. And we need to have proper impact fees so we don't have problems like things with the sewer, right? So all our sidewalks and everything else, so that they're properly integrated. So you bring the community benefits agreements, the CBA people talk about, that brings in the neighborhoods and the folks that live and work in the community to be a part of those gains. And then you have those impact fees that make sure that we're not stressing our systems and our resources.
Man, I appreciate it. That was a lot, and I think it makes sense. It really made sense. I think we have the ability to be more creative with affordable housing, and I think that's what I just
It's an old problem, Matt, and these guys haven't done anything about it for a long time. And it's like, who could imagine that Pinellas County's been built out for 30 years would have an affordable housing crisis? I'm telling you, there was an affordable housing crisis 30 years ago, and just people didn't have as much money around here.
Yeah.
You know, St. Pete's got a little more money now.
I live in the ADU too,
Yeah.
for $250 a month.
That's a pretty good deal.
Okay. We got one question from the audience, and then you close it out.
Sure.
Okay. What you got, audience? Just go ahead and blurt it out. You're real close to the microphone already.
All right, so excellent presentation. I appreciate what you had to offer. But my question is, as it deals with the youth, and more so on the South Side. I grew up in St. Petersburg, moved off 30-something years ago, just came back. And when I came back, I see this great divide, North Side versus South Side. And even with the South Side, I see the gentrification encroaching upon what used to be the South Side. And I see so much hopelessness in the youth, the Black youth. I walk around, I ask, what is it that that you want to do 20 years, 10 years, 5 years from now? They don't have a clue because they don't see a way out. So my question is to you, how do you plan on addressing the Black youth of St. Petersburg in reference to bridging the gap?
So this is that, $64 million question, right? That every city in America is trying to figure out. And I don't think that I'm the smartest guy in the room or anything like that. If you ever do, you need to find a bigger room. But I think it starts some of the little things. We talk about this opportunity of, getting people connected to the right types of jobs, right? We look at, like, right now there's such a demand for plumbers. Right now, there's no reason why we can't have a bunch of Black entrepreneurs that get in plumbing, because there's a lot of great money involved in things like that. So there's a lot of opportunities that we're not connecting people to the dots. I think there's a lot of programs out there that people don't know about, right? That we're not connecting the dots to. I think we talk about things like ADUs. People want to know that you can do that. There's actually programs that help finance stuff like that. I think the rec centers are a big part of it. Those after-school programs. I'm a sports guy. My father used to be a local Little League executive, and I was a volunteer at Northeast Little League for a long time and did regional tournament umpires around here. So I feel that as far as sports was a huge thing for me growing up. I think we need to take a look at something like that. Give people opportunity. Not necessarily that I think they're going to go to the NBA or the NFL or anything like that, but people need structure, and that's going to connect things to people. And I know that there is a real crisis of job training as far as in hospitality. Hospitality is such a great leg up. You get to learn so much and meet so many people. I'd like to kind of connect some of those resources. But it starts with some basic needs, okay? There's gonna be hopelessness when you hear shootings all over your neighborhood and you don't feel safe, all right? There's gonna be hopelessness when your parents aren't around because they're locked up in jail and they don't have a way out. There's gonna be hopelessness when you're hungry and the only place to shop is the Get It and Go store or the Sitco, okay? So we need to have things like proper food in our neighborhoods and nutrition. And then we need to have those resources to our schools so we can have those good examples. I want to see people coming back and showing inspiration and stuff like that. I think we need to have things like the greenhouse that reach out to folks on the south side. I'm a graduate of the greenhouse. The greenhouse is a great program that helps connect entrepreneurs. That's one of the things that taught me how to be an entrepreneur. So we need to give people hope and lead by example, and then connect all these. It's little things. Like I'm a big fan of Coach John Wooden, the former UCLA head coach, and he would say little things make big things happen. Okay, we need to start with those little things. Like I would go back to that. If you're gonna feel hopeless when you can't read. Okay, you're gonna feel hopeless when you don't have parents or access to good food, or if you're going to a failure factory school. And so this is gonna be a very difficult problem to have, but I want to serve my story. I want to serve as inspiration. I got arrested a bunch of times. I've been fired a bunch of times, okay? And I'm lucky, I'm my own boss now, and they can't fire me anymore. They may wish they could sometimes, but I'm here to stay. So I'd like to kind of be an inspiration to some of those folks and really connect. I think get the private sector involved in that stuff and let people know that there's places like Raymond James that could change your life if you're able to, if you stay in school and you stay on the right path and you have this connective resource to that. And I think the hopelessness is really one of our big problems here. And I feel like as a kid growing up, there was always Black St. Pete and White St. Pete, North Side, South Side. And then I felt like we were kind of going the right direction a little bit. And now it feels like we're kind of getting back divided again. And it just doesn't feel good. And, I think that there's so much opportunity here. We need to let people know how they can get that leg up. And I don't know that I have all the answers, but I'm going to be searching for them. And I don't have to be elected mayor to start searching and doing things like that. And I'll let people know that no matter what happens, this election, I ain't going anywhere. All right, I'm gonna be around and I want to help people out. And for me, it starts by taking care of my own. I make sure that my people get paid well. My people all get paid $15 an hour. I offer healthcare, I offer meals. I'm stupid. I give away interest-free loans to my employees all the time. And so we got to take care of our own and let people know that everything's okay and that there is an opportunity for you out there. But I think it starts with little things: public safety, schools, after-school programs. That's the tough question, though. I wish I had a great answer.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you for that question, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, folks, you heard it from Mr. Pete Boland. I'm going to give him the last words. I have to say one thing. Maria Scruggs, I love you. I have to say, that's my sister. She knows that. I just didn't want anybody else to take it the wrong way. But thank you so much for your time, man. It was a pleasure. I'm glad to hear you say that you're not going away. I think you have some fresh ideas. I think the city needs that. I think it's good for fresh ideas to challenge some of these older ideas. So I wish you the best. I think I'm impressed. I know I'm going to get somebody's going to say something about me not pushing back on something. I'm not here for that. I wanted to kind of give you an opportunity to express yourself. That's what, me and Miss Kenya, we kind of just wanted to give you guys that opportunity without the back and forth and bickering and whatever. So I'll give you the last words, man. I thank you for showing up tonight.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. And I wish we did have more back and forth and stuff like that. Most of these things are are these forums one-on-one, and I think that's great. I think it's important for people to pay attention. What I would say is that elections have consequences, and if you look back at the last couple of years, there should be no better example than how important it is, who the governor is, who the mayor is, how different things could be for better or for worse, whatever you think. So people need to be activated into what's going on these local levels. They say all politics is local, but nothing is more important. You make no greater impact than local politics. And these are the things that are going to affect your life. What I'd say is I want folks to have an open mind and to respect a few things about when they're going in that ballot box. They need to think about who really cares about the city and who wants to do things to make a difference. And a lot of folks that are up there running have had a lot of opportunities to do a lot of things, and I don't think they have enough to show for it. That's why I'm sitting up here. I want to fight change to make real progress. I think that we've had a lot of politics as usual here in St. Pete, and politics as usual is not progress to me. So I think people need to know this. Who am I voting for that has a true heart for the city, that really wants to make change, that isn't doing this for their career or their next ambition? You know, I'm not independently wealthy, but I have a nice career. My girl will tell you that, you know, if we talk about me opening another restaurant or the project or whatever happens after this and going on, she would tell me that, no, you're okay, that you need to stay home a little bit more. But I think that I love this city so much. I want to see real changes. I've grown frustrated with things like, you know, some of the, like, for example, man, this is something that's been bothering me all week. City council just voted to put up the plexiglass shields again at city council. The virus is aerosolized. The plexiglass shield does absolutely nothing. It's theater. And I feel like that is a microcosm for what is happening in our city. That everybody throws around these well-intended ideas that don't actually solve any problems. I want to be that change. I'm not going anywhere. I'm happy to be here. I'm proud of the campaign we're running. You should check me out at PeteForSt.Pete.com. You can follow along on our Facebook page. Same thing, Pete for St. Pete. My Facebook is completely open to the public. I'm at the max level with the friends on there. So just look for me, Pete Boland. It's me and my girl standing with the Pete for St. Pete backdrop as the profile picture, so you know who I'm at. But I want to solve these problems. I want to save pro sports for us. I want to make a real dent in this affordable housing. I want to lift people up opportunity. I want to make sure that we have the most modern, adept, dexterous, friendly, most brilliant, most well-trained, most well-compensated, best police force in the United States. I want us to have lofty goals and put St. Pete first above politics, above partisanship, above career ambitions, and work together so we can have real progress in our city so that we can be the place that we feel that we are and should be. That's what I want to do, and I just love this place. I'm happy to take on this fight and this battle, and I hope to win everybody's vote on August 24th. Please check us out. Thank you.
Pete Boland, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Pete for St. Pete. I'll check him out. Thank you so much for coming out. I appreciate it. All right. You guys stand by. We got one more. We got Mr. Torry Nelson in the building.
Thank you so much. Pleasure. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, here we go.
Come on down, man. You're the next contestant. How you doing, bro? Oh, thank you, man. Thank you, man.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. You can scoot up to the mic.
Thank you for that question, man. I wish there was something better.
Right, man. We'll jump right into it, man. Oh, man, you brought a whole script. Mr. Torry Nelson, man. I want to say to you, bro, I'm really happy to see you involved. Glad to see you jump in this. I think your candidacy, right? Somebody's gonna see you, and somebody's gonna say, if he can do it, I can do it. Do you feel that already? Do you feel like you're doing that?
Yeah, I hear that already.
You hear that already?
Yeah, I hear it already.
All right. Let me back up. All right, Mr. Torry Nelson, candidate for mayor. Tell us a little bit about yourself, man, and how you ended up saying, I'm going to City Hall and I'm going to put my name on that ballot. How did that come about?
Well, I'm a very humble guy. I get that question a lot. It's not one particular answer I can give you, but I kept hearing a real recurring theme, around the neighborhoods when, just out and about talking to friends, peers, acquaintances, and, everyone's, complaining about different things in the city.
Yeah.
Especially with the affordable housing thing, gun violence. So I felt, hey, you know what, maybe I'm gonna just try to make a solution to this problem. Yeah,
Okay, okay.
that's one thing.
All right. And what is your background?
Okay. Well, my background is pretty much civil service. I've been fortunate enough to do some things that I can like basically help my community and earn a living at the same time. It was one point I got into real estate. I had found an investor that was investing in me. He was investing in me and basically kind of like agreement for deed. So agreement for deed in Florida is kind of like it's a sale. You have to foreclose on it. So I'm a real American. I got bad credit. So I got fortunate enough to get, at one point I had like 4 or 5 properties.
Mm-hmm.
And I devoted them all to transitional housing.
Mm-hmm.
And I stood by them. The relationship with the Houston investor that was giving me the houses got sour due to the usage. The city didn't like the usage that I was using them for.
Right.
And pretty much I lost all my properties. But I stood by my guns and stood by my integrity for what I felt was right.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost all of it. I kind of lost my nest egg, but if I could take it back, I'm gonna change it because I got a chance to touch a lot of people. A lot of people touched me. I met a lot of angels along the way that helped me survive those 10 years. It was kind of like people. I was helping people, and they were helping me, and we was maintaining no government assistance. So I'm not just doing lip service. I didn't have no government assistance, and I was actually trying to make a change in the community. So, yeah.
A little bit closer.
Okay. So
There it is. Yeah, so I think that's important to highlight, brother. So you provided affordable housing for 10 years for folks.
yes, sir.
And people may want to look at you and say, oh, he's not a serious candidate, but you are a serious candidate because you've already done the work. So talk a little bit more about, toot your own horn a little bit. So you had 10 homes, you had 5 homes, and so how many people in those homes?
My main home was on 14th Avenue, right in the Childs Park area. It was a 6-bedroom home with a 2-bedroom garage apartment.
Yeah.
I was leasing the building on 1st Avenue North. That's when I really thought I was moving up. I was really a real nice building house. It was a doctor's office, I believe it was. No, it was a lawyer office, I believe, and I converted it. And I was housing about 8 people there.
Wow.
And then I had about 2 duplexes. I had one in Tampa, which one is still in litigation. So I still got 1 property.
Okay.
So after it's over with, I'm start paying my lawyer a little bit to get that back.
Okay, all right.
But I got one. I had a duplex in Welch Park. So I was up to 4 properties, and I was housing maybe that was a good time. I was housing probably like it was a lot of people I was housing.
Yeah. Helped a lot of people.
Mhm.
Man, that's big, man. I'm glad to hear that, man. And thank you. So what do you see now? How's it going out there, first of all? How's the campaign like?
It's great, just I get, when people embrace you,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, when I jumped into this, I didn't know that when I jumped into this, I was in it to stay. It's kind of like you jump into it and now you got cement shoes on.
Right. Can't get out.
Yeah, it's not, I gotta be responsible. I was ready to be a responsible person,
Right.
but now there's no turning back. You
Right.
gotta basically be the face of,
So you're not going away, in other words.
I'm in it for the long haul, and I wouldn't want to, because the embracement I get from people when they walk up to you, I'm like chef tip.
Yeah.
It's more than I can indescribable.
Yeah, your voice in this process, and I want anybody that's seeing this, I want them to understand how valuable your voice is in this process. Are you feeling that? Are you feeling that your voice is really appreciated?
Yeah, I'm not the biggest talker. Like, that's not my strong suit.
Right.
So I don't believe, I think just my presence. Because I was passing out flyers at the store. There was some little kids got hair just like me.
Right.
Coming home from Little League football practice, and it's a store I regularly go in to put my flyers in. So they were like, "Hey, what you rap?" That's what he said, and then the clerk,
Wow.
the clerk corrected him and said, "No, he's running for mayor."
Yeah.
And he gave me a look,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Okay, yes, sir." And I just walked, I just looked, just kind of like,
Felt good.
yeah, it felt good, real good.
It's amazing that you made that point, because when if they see you with a flyer, automatic assumption, oh, he promoting a show or something.
Yeah.
But no. And you had an impact on those young people. I just want you to know that. I was looking forward to talking to you because there's a lot of progress in you just being part of this. I asked you about your filing, and you told me, and I realized you do have some experience because I watched you speak at a different forum, and they were talking about eminent domain, and you had something to add to that. Why don't you explain a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah.
Because I was impressed. I wanted to follow up with you on that.
Well, I want to give myself all the credit. You know what? I've been learning from the people.
Uh-huh.
The more people I meet with, the more I learn.
Yeah, that was a good answer. That was a good, you turned it into a politician. I'm just letting you know. That was a real political answer. You said it so now. Y'all watch out for Torry Nelson. He's not going away.
Yeah, but you know what? That's so true though, because I read Rick Baker's book right here, right? And he said when he first got in office, he was up 5:30 in the morning to meet with all the departments to catch up the speed of all the city departments.
Right.
So I said, you know what? I'm gonna meet with all of them right now while I got this opportunity.
Nice.
So yes, when I meet with them, I learn a little bit from every department.
Yeah.
When I'm out there canvassing, I listen to people and I learn a little bit from everyone. Like everyone has something to offer, and it seems like when they're talking to you, the best information comes out. I mean, it's not one person I learn nothing from. So I go, I write my notes down, I'm taking notes, and I'm learning from the people, to be honest. But the eminent domain, I learned that from, I was at the Black Republican Caucus. It was a, I don't know if I want to say her name, I don't know if you can tell it, but
Hold on for it.
but she made me aware of the eminent domain. I was like, wow, that is something that is very interesting. Because, you know, I remember, I was real young when that happened, so I don't totally remember, but that makes perfect sense that, you know, maybe we should start a community trust fund, try to find out the beneficiaries of, you know, those plots that got buried over the businesses. And, you know, we got some time. And the Rays, I met with the Rays. And, you know, they.
Hey, it's a little detail.
Okay.
We had a meeting set up, but I had to get out of the way because he had a meeting with the Rays.
Oh, yeah.
It took precedence. It's only right.
Yeah. But it was put that they had to make wait for like 2-3 weeks. So,
Okay.
So it's been happening a lot. Actually, it was another forum that was on this night. So we kind of shifted that one so we can come here.
Tonight?
Yeah, yep, it was 99.1, so they kind of took a back seat to you guys. Yeah, you took a back seat, 99.1, so y'all shout out, I appreciate y'all.
Shout out to 99 Jams, 99 Jams. Oh, wow, okay.
So it's fun, man, beautiful.
Yeah, man, I thought that was so impressive that you are meeting with all the departments now. Talk a little bit more about that, man. I think that's a great idea. I think it's a great idea for just ordinary citizens to really get into, you know, talk a little bit about what you learned and, you know, what you're gonna take away from this, come if you win or lose. Talk about those meetings and those experiences.
Well, I learned, you know, we want equity for the whole community, but I learned that it's, you know, it's not just downtown, not just South St. Pete. It's more in the community. You know, you have the seniors. You know, we've been taking a back seat. We're forgetting about our seniors. You know, our seniors are getting left behind with all this progress. You know, we got one senior center in St. Pete.
Wow.
It's downtown, and they're understaffed, under budgeted. No one, you know, that's my observation. No one's thinking about them. You got the seniors there, and we can't forget about the seniors.
Yeah.
And we can't forget about the homeless population also. You know, they need more mental health services. You know, they need maybe more individualized drug treatment because, you know, everybody has their own level of drug problems. And I even talked to some of the homeless.
Right.
And some of the homeless, they just need a little stable housing just to get their mind back right, get their health back, get their energy back. Just, you know, and they can get that stable housing. And, you know, a lot of them really want to go out and work, and not all of them are mental health or have a drug problem. A lot of them are working class citizens that are on the verge of homelessness.
Yeah, right.
I mean, a lot of people that live in hotels and they're paying like $80 a day, and I'm like, wow, if I can make $80 a day to pay a hotel, my campaign, I'll be everywhere.
Right.
Yeah,
Wow.
so,
So you have some really realistic ideas and realistic concerns. What would be, okay, what is that, November whatever,
Mhm.
Torry Nelson, our next mayor, what are you gonna attack first?
Affordable housing immediately. Immediately. I met with the tenants union and they opened up my eyes. They did a survey. Well, first I met with the head of zoning, Robert Gertis, and he told me the 10-year plan for the city to implement 2,400 affordable housing units. And he was gonna work with the private sector.
10 years?
Yeah, 10 years, 2,400. I mean, we got 700, how many we got here? People, we got St. Pete again?
260,000.
So 200, that's not gonna implement. So I want to increase that, quadruple that. The tenants union said, their facts said that we need about 34,000 for the whole county. For like Clearwater and Hope Mills County. So I say, maybe we need 34,000 for St. Pete. 'Cause
Yeah.
if you think about the mental health, they need permanent housing. Like
Yeah.
chronic mental health that really need permanent housing, like Boland Center provides that. We need adequate housing. So with the MT-M1 zoning plan, I will implement that immediately. I will implement contemporary like townhouses that can last the test of time, that's really modern, that won't take away from my homeowners' equity. So we place them in these neighborhoods.
Mhm.
And the city has $10 million in land that we have right now. So if the citizens, if we're citizens of the city, that's technically should be the citizen land, I think. We should sacrifice that land for our good greater, to keep our citizens that's been here, that built this community, that's been living here. And I see a lot of the news, like California. I travel California a couple times, a lot. I love California. They're a forward-thinking state, and I think we should be forward-thinking also, because we got the potential to be the best city in the world, I believe.
Yeah, we do have a potential.
So what I was getting at was, we should implement that affordable housing, that $10 million in land, to increase the affordability.
Man, I like that answer. You gave that answer without flinching either. I'm really impressed. So affordable housing is on the top of your list. But you're a young black male. You see what's going on in our community right now. And I would just love to hear what you see as a solution to some of this gun violence.
Yes. Well, I'm fortunate enough. I don't know about everybody else, but I travel all around the country. I never traveled out the U.S. I'm kind of scared of that. Going flying over the field with water. But I've been to college in Minnesota, Arkansas, I played arena football in Oklahoma. So I can relate. I feel like I can relate to all walks of life. So maybe it's me being naive, but sometimes I was out hanging outside 3, 4 in the morning, and my friends telling me, "Hey, be careful out there." But I don't feel like there's nowhere in the city that I can go that I don't feel safe. I can touch, any neighborhood I can go to and reach out to any kind of people. And that's how I want the whole city to feel. So I can, I know people are still out there dealing and, having to make it, dealing with what they have to deal in. And a lot of them, they might deal with what they deal with, like illegal activity, but they still, deep down in their heart, they want a job. They're still actively looking for a job. Like, they don't want to do that.
Right.
No one wants to do that, to be honest.
Right.
No one wants to do that. So I feel we just need to tap into their talents. For me, it was football. I found my passion. That's what, I kept a C average through St. Pete High School, Lakewood High School. I kept a 2.0, just enough to play football.
Right.
Yeah. And then I walked on. I drove to Minnesota. It was too cold. I drove back home.
Wow.
Graduated St. Pete College. I used to drive all around the state trying to play football. So I feel we can get them engaged. Everybody has something, passion. It's got to find their passion. And that's why I want to do like after school management programs. I want to assist our parents, help them raise the kids, because it's going to take a village, I think, right now with the evolving times.
Right.
So I just want to kind of like brainwash some positivity into their head. Just keep pounding it in their head. Just keep them engaged. Keep them not with lapses of time. You know what I just say, idle mind.
Yeah, right.
So, but I can reach out and I can talk to these people. I can talk. Actually, I haven't just been meeting the street departments. City departments. I've been meeting with the streets.
Right.
Some of the OGs in the streets
Right.
that's well known, that got they're looked at as legends.
Right.
They might have did this and came home, and now they're on the right track. I didn't talk to them.
Mhm.
And a lot of them are passionate. A lot of them are real passionate.
Oh, yeah.
And they reached out to me.
Right.
And one time, one of them read it real good, and he said, "Are you ready to take on these problems?" And I was looking at him like, "I think so."
Yeah.
But we can just, I think I can bridge. I can get them both. I think I can reach everybody.
I like that, man. I'm very impressed. Again, somebody saw you. Those kids saw you passing out those flyers. I wanted to just ask you. I asked you what you're gonna do if you win, right? But what if you don't win? Are you going away, or what are you gonna do? Are you gonna stay consistent? Are you gonna continue this energy? Because I think you for a first-time candidate, what I hear you saying is very impressive. And I know that there's candidates out there that may hear you that are saying, I need to do some of that. And I'm just really impressed. Just want to know, like, what was the number one thing that said, I'm going down here right now? I know you mentioned some things, but what was the thing that pushed you over the top? And then when was it a reality? Was this something that you had to dwell on a little bit? Was it a spur of the moment? How did this come about?
Yeah, I always had an aspiration
Okay.
to run like for mayor.
Okay.
And I had to get my voting rights back.
Wow.
So yeah, that's one of the main things. So I was going back and forth with Tallahassee for a long time. But the number one thing is government operations. Okay, so going to jail humbles you, right? But when you go to jail 2-3 times for something you never did, that really humbles you. When you're innocent sitting in jail, that's the most humbling experience you're gonna ever get. So you gotta tread light. So you go to jail for being innocent, you gotta tread light. And also, like, the city issued me a permit, like for one of my shelters, and they didn't even recognize their own permit. They didn't, permit I paid for. And so I just felt, someone honest, that's gonna be strict by the book, and not just biased. I'm not biased towards anyone. So I think it was just government operations. I felt that I'd be an honest person in there, and I can't be bought. And yeah, like you said, I'm in it for the long haul. Like, win, lose, or draw. I don't want to say lose. I don't want to say draw. But I got cement shoes on right now. And
Not going?
yeah, I can't.
What is your what do you and we got about 5 minutes left.
Okay.
What do you have that the other candidates don't have?
I got tons of energy.
You said the other candidates lazy?
No, I ain't saying they're lazy.
Hey, y'all.
I'm resourceful. They say, I know a lot of people say 45 million a lot with the American Rescue Act.
Yeah.
But for me, that would be a lot. I'm running a resourceful campaign right now. I'm my own campaign manager. I'm my own treasurer. I'm my own candidate. I'm my own tech guy. I built my own website.
Yeah.
I'm my own canvasser.
Yeah. And I saw him canvassing folks. Yes, I did.
Yeah. So
Did you even know what canvassing? When did you learn the term canvassing? When did you become familiar with that term? Before or after?
I'm not sure. That's a good question. I'm not sure, but I learned it though.
One thing I will say about this guy, gentlemen and ladies, he's a quick learner. And I saw him a few months ago, and listening to him right now, this brother picks it up. Hey, your candidacy is valuable, bro. I want to say thank you for running. I want to say thank you for showing up tonight. Thank you for your spirit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you the last word, man.
Can I cut you off?
Cut on off.
Can I say thank you for being a community activist? Because don't say thank you. You've been doing it way longer than me, so you deserve more thank you than me.
Well, I think we need each other, and it's important, man. I'm really proud of the way you're handling yourself, and you are serious. You're when I said earlier your voice, it's just that you're in the spaces that a lot of people that look like you cannot get to or think they can't get to. But when you get here, you see how much value you have. So I just want you to also make sure that you stress that to the young people when you see them. Listen, I know I'm a long shot, but my voice matters in this process. And this process is better now because I'm in it. And I mean that. We got a question from the audience. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Nelson, I was one of the people that stopped you and talked to you about preparation and research.
Yeah.
And I see since that time, I mean, like Matt said, you have really stepped the game up.
Yeah.
And that's very important. And I talked to you also about going down to city council meetings and knowing what's going on in the city. And once you see basically what the issues are, to research it and then be prepared, and I see that you come a long ways, you know what I'm saying? So, hey, my hat's off to you.
Oh, I appreciate it. I'm still taking you up on your advice too.
I appreciate that.
I haven't made it to one yet, but I'm gonna be honest, I ain't making one.
Right.
But I'm keeping my ears open. I'm starting making it to one. I just never,
Right. Okay.
And we got one more question from the audience. Hold on one second. I just want to say this so I don't forget. And to anybody in the audience, this is for you too. You can go to the City of St. Petersburg website and you can watch all the city council meetings. And that was something that someone gave, that little nugget is something someone gave me. And then if there's anything that you want to know about what's being voted on, it's online. You can go back and see it. So just FYI. Go ahead. So we got room for one more question, then you close us out. Mr. Torry.
Yeah, I keep hearing your moderation asking different candidates, what is the solution for gun violence? What is this solution for the South Side, St. Pete openness? And my view, you are the solution.
Agreed.
I mean, because those young kids, when they can identify with progressiveness and they can see it in you and it becomes real, it becomes attainable. But not saying that the other candidates can't bring it, but they don't see themselves in the other candidates.
Wow.
So as you have your last 2 weeks, that's what I want to offer to you. Push that, that you are what they're striving to become.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Sir.
Yes, sir.
Wow, man, you got some fans, and this is a safe space for you. But I do again want to thank you, man, and to give you the opportunity for the last words.
I guess the last words. Like I say, I'm just an ordinary person. I feel like everybody, like I said, I just average a seat, grade one average just to play football. So, just like the gentleman just said, if I can just be a role model, we can get more leaders. That's the thing we need. We need more leaders in our community for our youth to look up to, more inspiration for them to look up to, and just give them a better quality of life. Just see that, they can get out of here. They can go move away, go to college, come back. See, it's bigger. It's a bigger, broader world out there. And just open their eyes. Just not just the neighborhood, just not the hood. There's other things out there. So that's why I just leave my closing arguments.
Man, thank you so much. And folks, thank you so much for watching. I hope you got something out of this. I know I did. There were some things that I didn't know about these candidates. I'm really impressed with everyone for that matter. And folks, we just got to continue to stay engaged and stay informed. We have to do better also so that the people that we hire really represent us. So you guys, thank you. I want to bring out the host tonight, Miss Kenya Allen, and let her close us out. Thank you all.
Ooh, that was amazing. Thank you, Mr. Nelson, for coming out. Oh my gosh, y'all. So that was the second one, and we believe it's going to continue.
Yes.
My buddy here, my partner here, I'm enjoying this, you guys. I'm really, really grateful. As Matt said, I learned some things tonight. It was such a pleasure having Mr. Nelson here and having Mr. Boland here. And we're looking forward to, before the 24th, having a couple of more, correct?
Yes,
Matt?
absolutely.
So you guys, the conversation continues. We think it's really important to have this type of atmosphere, to pull them out of their usual, place and space, because I think it gets a little more intimate in this setting here. And so some stuff come out that you probably don't typically hear on the regular platforms. And so I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful for those of you that attended. Shout out to our virtual audience. And yeah, we'll see you guys real soon. So watch for the next conversation with the candidate as it continues. It's your girl Kenya. We out.
Thank y'all.